Big fan. It's a beautiful day in February here. And I got a bunch of cuttings that are ready to be up potted. And a big reason I want to up pot them is because they are currently in coconut coir and perlite. Now, coconut coir is organic material, but it's not nutrient dense. So when they start reaching out for nutrients with their roots, they're not exactly getting it, which means it could put stress on the cutting and they end up not being able to progress. And so you can do this with liquid fertilizers. I will use the Alaska fish fertilizer, and you can use this with, here's a really cool thing, worm castings. That stuff is a multivitamin for your young figs. You can use it as a foliar spray as well if you make worm casting tea. I like doing that with all my plants in the spring, as worm castings come in small portions and can be really expensive. So I'm actually going to take some of my bigger cuttings that have been in their pots, and I'll show you which ones I'm going to choose from. I'm going to up pot them. There is a risk associated with this, as some figs you do not want to disturb the roots, especially if they're young. They can be fickle. Certain varieties, like Celestes, brown turkeys, the popular ones tend to be a little more resilient when you transplant them. Other varieties like Coldedams do not like it whatsoever. My Coldedam mutante, I lost last year about 3 of them because I transplanted them too early. What you want to do when transplanting them is not disturb the root ball. Leave the root ball alone as much as possible. As they grow and mature from cuttings into trees, you will have to worry about this less and less as they get stronger, more resilient as they grow. I'm referring to these baby cuttings. So I'm going to do a bunch of rooted cuttings. I'll show you how I do it, and I'll talk you through it. Let's check it out. All right, guys, I have a whole tray here. Marseille Black. No guarantees, guys. Sometimes it happens. Over here, I have some Capra figs coming up. I'm going to up pot these. I'm concerned they don't have a lot of roots because their leaves are small. Here you have this Capote Negra. That's great leaves. Snorella, one of my earliest ones that I've rooted, is ready to go. This one as well. You can see they have fig mosaic virus. I actually answered a question for a client. A lot of my trees have fig mosaic virus. It's just the way the cookie crumbled when they got it from the mother tree. I do my best to avoid it by keeping them as nutrient rich as possible with their soil, trying to keep them as happy and healthy as possible. You will not see a lot of issues that way. But when they're young, it's a little inevitable for it to be present when they're first growing, as they're not that strong yet against disease resistance. Ooh, Ronde Bordeaux, look at that. All right, let's up pot these big babies and turn them into young adults. All right, Fig Fam, some of you are gonna love this. Some of you actually are not gonna like this at all. I have a lot of babies that I need to make space for. Up pot into trees so they can grow a little more rapidly. There is gonna be some transplant shock involved, but that's because I have nutrient poor soil, as I mentioned before, with just the coconut coir and perlite. Now I like rooting in this stuff because it's porous, it's well draining, and it's relatively inert. So you're not going to get a lot of disease, not too much organic material. Now when I see that they have taken hold as their own trees, they have nice roots probably protruding out the bottom, I am going to move them in to 1-gallon pots. And I'm going to incorporate this potting mix. And it's nice, it falls apart nicely, but it's still wet. It is 1 part mushroom compost, 1 part peat. Then I add 2 tablespoons of garden lime for every gallon of peat that I use. It's not exact, I just sprinkle it in there. It brings the pH of the peat up as you like neutral soil for figs. Garden lime is known as dolomitic limestone, so Mediterranean higher pH areas. If you have a lot of calcium carbonate in your soils, chalk, things like that, your figs will thrive. More acidic soils are fine if they're relatively well draining, but you can always amend your soil with garden lime and it'll help your fig trees. Moving on, I have soil conditioner, which is fine pine bark nuggets. So the garden lime helps that as well if there's any acidity to the soil from that. And then I have perlite. Now I will amend the soil with some organic fertilizers. I will use worm castings. I will use worm casting tea. I met a great guy who does worm castings here. I forget, I'll put the link in the bio of where you can get his stuff. But one little packet of worm castings in a little cup like this, you could do worm casting tea 17 times with that. And then you could still amend with it afterwards. But worm castings is great. But that's my mix here because it saves me a lot on buying potting mix. Easier for me to maneuver without the gloves. And I can check out this Norella. It's used to greenhouse light, so it might start drooping in this full February sun where it's 70 degrees out today. This is why I live in the Southeast. This is Norella that I picked up from Ross Ratty. Shout out to him. He is an amazing wealth of knowledge. I'm sure if you're watching this video, you have watched a lot of Ross's stuff. If you haven't, obviously check out Ross, the fig boss. So thank you, Ross, for everything you do for the fig community. These are the 4x9s that I'm going to transfer to the 1 gallon pot, doing my best not to disturb the root ball, keep the root ball intact. But I also want to see what it looks like. I'm so excited. It never gets old. I've been doing this forever, and it's still awesome. So what I do is I hold the base and look at these roots, everyone, in this Norella fig. That's about 2 months worth of growth. I am going to, only a month and a half, I am going to transfer into these 1 gallon pots. Let's find a really good one. Oh, again, you can see the bottom where it was creeping up. We want to keep that as intact as possible. I'm going to fill it in here first, place it right on top. And as I put the soil in, I'm just going to shake it around the base. Kind of push it down as I go along. Figs like to have roots near their surface, so you don't want to bury them too deep. Once they've rooted, I shake it around. Oh, it looks good. It looks good. This will stress it a little bit. If it doesn't grow for a while after you do this, that's okay. I transferred one of these Norellas already, and I was very impressed with how it recovered, so I am going to do that now. On 70 degrees like this, the greenhouse can get well into the high 80s, so I open the doors, I let it breathe, get some airflow. If you are rooting fig cuttings, airflow is great. Even putting a fan on your cuttings, that fan impact, that wind impact will help it actually become stronger. It'll help root growth be stronger as well. But this mix I put into the gallon pot like that, and there you go, guys. Easy peasy. Again, here's what my soil mix looks like. This is a good moisture for it because I can kind of clump it together, but it falls apart easily. That porosity of the soil is great for root development. You do want some airflow through there, little air pockets. Porous material has little air pockets in it. So you want air, water, organic material. It's the triple threat of good potting mix. That's why people add soil conditioner to things or perlite to things. Vermiculite works as well, but vermiculite can hold moisture really well. So however you manage your soil, you have to be aware of how moisture retention behaves. Coconut coir does not hold moisture the same way vermiculite or peat does. It works great in that regard if you're regularly watering things. Peat will hold moisture really, really well, so be cognizant of that. Perlite does not hold moisture very well at all. It's basically like this popcorn rock material, but vermiculite tends to hold moisture more intensively than your perlite, even though they both serve as porous growing medium. It's just a little more hydrophilic. All right, one down. We're going on to Smith. I'm worried that the Smith isn't putting out roots because it's putting out leaf growth, but it's relatively small, and that's a sign for it wanting to grow, but it not putting out roots. And so I've been testing out with these bigger pots so I wouldn't have to transfer, but I'm noticing I'm losing cuttings because they want more nutrients. And rather than fertilizing them, I'm just up potting them. I'm going to get the 1 gallon pot ready with mix, and I'm going to put it right here on top. I don't know if you guys can see this. I'm going to go 2 hands here. Ooh, I like this angle, guys. I hope you guys do too. So let's take a look there. This pot is done. This is a Smith cutting. So again, the small leaf indicate maybe not a lot of roots. So let's take a look here. I'm going to put some of this in here. Okay. Kind of right on that one, guys. See right here? Roots are coming, but they're still relatively new. You can see where the roots came out, where I scored the bark and had put rooting hormone on it. You can see where it's scarred. See where it came out of the base at the nodes where those lenticles are. This fig may be all right. So really new roots on this one. Not a lot of big leaves, showing that these roots are pretty new. So let's go ahead and we can put it in the pot. The key is to be really soft and gentle with them. Again, they're babies, guys. They are babies. So just shake it in slowly. It's okay to take your time. I have to do 1,000 of these and I am taking my time because it's not worth it. Although that's contradictory because I am pulling them out of these pretty early, but I want them to get some organic material in them. Okay, guys, there it is. It's new home until it goes home to someone's garden. All of you deserve to have a Smith. This thing is awesome for humidity. Not super cold tolerant, but it's worth the extra attention. Check it out. All right, here's another one in a 3x8 that's probably ready to be up potted. It's called Sal's L. I put love on every single one of my bins, every single one of my bags for rooting, every single one of my cuttings sends positive vibes. This cutting came from Syracuse, New York. It's pretty thin. Shout out to Joe Sourdough. He gave me an awesome sourdough starter too. If you guys don't follow him on the gram, check him out. Another fellow Italian-American guy out of Syracuse, New York with awesome sourdough bread. And kind of squeeze it up top here because I want to keep that root ball as tight as possible. I'm going to feather this one. Oh, there it comes. Oh, okay. I really want to look at these roots, guys, but I need to protect this root ball because it's a baby. In you go right away. Let's get the organic material around you. For these new young babies, here's some clumps of compost, but I add extra perlite, extra soil conditioner, just for that extra breathability. I don't want to overwhelm these cuttings as they're putting out these new baby roots that are just starting to take up nutrients. There aren't a lot of microbes in this environment or mycorrhizae. All those are kind of being established now, which is why I like to use organic soil. So all that stuff contributes to taking up the nutrients, so they make the nutrients more bioavailable by having that in your soil. So if any of you guys use ProMix, they have mycorrhizae in there because it helps them take up nutrients. There we go. So you kind of saw like 3 different examples, like one that was established, one that was not established, and kind of one in the middle that looks still from the beginning. I'm going to finish up potting all of these, and I'm going to show you how I water them, how I put them in the trays in the greenhouse, and maybe you get a cool time lapse of me doing this. So let's check it out. All right. Got to show that off. This is about 6 to 8 weeks, guys. 6 weeks probably. I'm gonna get these out of the sun and watered. You can see how well it drains, which is pretty huge. You can see where it is holding the moisture, which is also crucial. So you need that nice balance of drainage versus moisture retention. When I sell these trees, they can stay in these pots for a while, at least a year or so. Waking up. He's waking up. See how it's a little stressed? She'll recover from that. Transplants aren't always happy. But it's kind of like I love you, eat your spinach type thing. You needed nutrients. You need to be up potted. It was time. But there you go, guys. There's an example of everything that's been up potted. I'm going to go do the rest, but I hope you guys appreciated this. We'll keep track of how these do in case you're concerned about the stress killing the cuttings, but they should recover. See this Norella here? I had the same thing happen when I up potted her, like this one, and it bounces back. Again, could be cringeworthy. Baby your cuttings. It's okay to wait. You could even pot them in the soil mix if you know that your soil mix that you're potting in is sterile. People go as far as baking their compost to make sure that there aren't any pathogens living in it that could kill your cutting. But I hope you guys found this useful and helpful. More content on the way. I have a special video coming up later this week about this irrigation system I'm installing, and I'd love to show you guys. It'll help me miss the cuttings. It'll help me water my baby trees when I am not here. So I'm excited to share that with you. As always, like, subscribe. I love the support. I love the collaboration. I love to see all of you growing fig trees and see all of your gardens. So happy to share and happy to hear from all of you as well. So reach out, Fig Fan, with any questions, and I'll talk to you guys soon. I'm going to go finish these cuttings now.